renting it, and there were problems that, that interfered with different things and created problems, and I think they sort of got them on board, somehow. I wouldn't be surprised if they sort of entrapped them into something. I know he's a regular marijuana smoker, so I wouldn't put anything past these crooks to set them up for something petty like a minor marijuana possession, and then get them involved in the harassment, because he's done some different things that lead me to believe that he's been enrolled in this to some degree. And then I had some weird problems while he was living there. I had pigeons all of a sudden habitate the dormer on the house, and I've owned the house for close to 18 years and never had anything close to a pigeon problem. And then a severe one develops when I'm not there, and I'm certain that was created. There was also, it doesn't have a full basement, it has a crawl space, and it was always having like mice and rats dig holes and go into the crawl space. So there was always little ruts around the base of the house going all the way around, where little critters were coming in and out of there. And when he moved out, I noticed there were pieces of bread around the base of the house. So that was either to attract the mouse or the mice or rats or pigeons or all of the above. So that's a problem that was created for me. It didn't just start happening. And where I'm living now, it's on family property. I'm on 20 acres, and it's an old 50s trailer, a mobile home, aluminum mobile home with a house and a double attached garage built onto the side of it, and then on 20 acres. And I get extreme noise campaigns here, and all I have to do is drive to the driveway, where it meets the street, and right away, a couple cars, from a dead silence, a couple cars will, zip by, and they like to crisscross in front of me. So, to let you know. And so I'm certain there's, probably some cameras on the power post outside. And they know whenever I leave the house, and they know whenever I open a window also. So I'm sure there's little pinhole cameras all throughout this place.
How do you find those? If you buy an RF detector, they're expensive, and then they might not work, because they watch every move I make while I sleep, too. I can hear them talking. Oh, don't put your hand over your head if they do that. Or, oh, look at that cat that's sleeping next to her. They watch every move you make.
Yes. They'll let you know. Even if you're in the pitch dark, I've gotten up from bed, not made a peep. I just tiptoed through the door, and it gets pitch black out here in the woods. There are no streetlights. And as soon as I touch the door handle, a car would zip by. So they're probably watching me with thermal imaging through wall technology. And every police department, sheriff department has that, so they can see where a criminal is in the house, But this technology that is supposedly to be used for legitimate law enforcement purposes and military purposes is being used to terrorize people that aren't enemies of the state. They're portrayed as
Right, they're not enemies of the state, but wasn't enemies of the state a common term used in Nazi Germany as well, if you were an enemy of the state? Wasn't that a common term for that time period as well?
I don't know.
I thought it was, because I had done some reading on it, because I hear my perpetrators calling me an enemy of the state, and that's because, one, I know who they are. I could go right over to O'Hare Airport and point these people out in a lineup. I know who they are, and they may be in black operations. I don't think they're CIA, but they are airline pilots and what I call fake flight attendants who are just there with this ring. And I could actually point these people out and they're the enemies of the state, you know, and they're taking good citizens, because I've heard them call me the model. They said I was a model citizen my whole life, and I have to pay for that. So to them, I'm an enemy of the state because I haven't been a criminal, and I haven't done the things they've done to ruin my life. So, you know, it's a role reversal here almost. It's as though the criminals are rising and persecuting good, or as they say, model citizens. And I find this so totally unreal, and it needs to be stopped, although I don't know if it's going to be. You know, things seem to be escalating towards the New World Order.
And I think a big part of the harassment is that they're experimenting. They're doing non-consensual research with these different directed energy weapons and different mind-reading weapons, and, you know, I think it's a lot of it. I think a lot of it is experimental, you know, Department of Defense experimental work. And they would never be able to find somebody who would, you know, sign up for these types of guinea pig experiments, because it's a terminal experiment, and it gives you brain damage and probably all sorts of nerve damage and, you know, hard on all your organs. And so they have to falsely label someone a criminal, I think, is exactly what happened to me. And I'm sure there was some revenge involved also. I think that person I, you know, made an enemy out of was retired from the Army. And there's a lot of war veterans involved in my harassment. But, you know, there's so many different types of people involved in this. I mean, firemen and volunteer firemen are really aggressively harassing me, off and on. You know, sometimes it's, you know, I don't know if their department gets a check every so often, so then they have to really step it up. I don't know how that works, but it's getting a lot of funding. So these places, and these people that, you know, these civilians that are involved in harassment, you know, with gas $3.75 a gallon here where I am, these people are not putting the wear and tear on their own cars and burning their own gas unless they're at least being reimbursed. You know, I mean, I get a lot of civilian harassment, and I'm sure they're members of fraternal groups, or, you know, they go to the VFW, and, you know, I'm sure these big groups of people are approached, and, you know, it's how they're sort of recruited into it.
Well, the country isn't what it was in the 1920s when my father and mother were born, that's for sure, because I was raised to be very patriotic, you know, and to love the red, white, and blue. And this country is changing against the red, white, and blue. I mean, it's totally opposite. And
fascist country.
It's becoming fascist, or it is becoming fascist, and so far I think it's still covertly becoming fascist, and they're waiting to get rid of a few of us who aren't going with the program, and then they're going to step it out, and we're outwardly going to have another Nazi Germany, a Hitler regime here, whether we like it or not, and we're going to have mass murders at prison camps again. We have all these prison camps around the country that have gas chambers. Who could ever think that another Nazi Germany prison camp could be built and used again? That is horrible. I can't even think about that. That should never be allowed. And yet we have these empty prison camps. You know, what are they for?
They built them. FEMA is heavily involved in building giant prison camps.
And who's going to go there?
All of the dissenters are going to go. The ones that are still alive